Welcome to the Better House Buyers Podcast, hosted by me, Skylar Rader, and my co-host, Zach Sanford. We offer homeowners a better alternative to traditional home selling.
We're on a mission to help homeowners by buying houses as is. Any condition, all cash, and a stress-free process from start to finish.
In this podcast, we actually help homeowners understand what it means to sell their home as is and the benefits of not using a realtor. We'll do a deep dive on our business, the process, and how it works. Welcome to the Better House Buyers Podcast. I'm your host, Skylar Rader.
And I'm your co-host, Zach Sanford.
Yeah, and we're joined by Zach, the co-host, the co-founder of the Better House Buyers. How are you doing this morning, Zach?
I am good. We started back to school as well as your kids, so we know that. And I think us parents as a whole are all a little bit tired today. So
a little tired. I need a little extra pep in my step than normal. That's why I'm enjoying a completely sugar-full RC cola here.
Sweet cola, okay.
Can't go wrong with an RC.
Royal Crown, old school, but I like it.
So this is our first episode, and I thought it would just be the right thing to do to jump right into how to understand our business. If you're not familiar with what we do, we give people a better, no pun intended, a better way to sell your home without using a realtor. Zach, can you break this down in layman's terms for the average homeowner who may be considering selling their home?
Yeah, so I would say that when it comes to someone looking to sell their house, they normally have 3 to 4 avenues. So we can kind of go over a little bit about that just because most people are going to have these questions.
Sure.
So I would say the first and traditional method, which we all know, we've all used, and we all love, is using a realtor. That's going to be the most common. That is the standard when it comes to selling a home. I would say for most of our clients, customers who we purchase homes from, they don't really have that option. So a traditional realtor is going to come in and they're going to do an inspection of the property. They're going to, run a CMA, that stands for cost market analysis. And they're going to give you an idea of, in your market, in this kind of condition, this is what we can list your house for and sell it for.
Right.
There's always an asterisk there, because no realtor really guarantees to sell your house. They just can't. It's impossible.
Sure.
And that's where we very much differ. Any type of cash buyer, house buyer, investor is going to differ greatly from a realtor, because we're not giving you our opinion on what it's worth. We're saying, hey, this is what I will pay. So that is really a huge difference. We love realtors. We work together closely with a lot of them. But we are, kind of in totally, it's kind of comparing, Chick-fil-A to Raising Cane's. They're very similar, but they're different.
Sure. Yeah. One does mostly just tenders and the other one does an assortment of chicken.
Yeah. So that would be
are we the tender or the assortment?
I would say we're more of the assortment.
Okay.
Like I said, realtors have a lot to offer. If anyone ever needs a good referral for a local realtor, we have a ton of them that we can give you, just because we work so closely with a lot of them.
And if someone's unfamiliar, what areas do we service currently?
We're technically, I guess we're in the Winnebago area. We primarily, I would say, work around the Wilmington. The greater Wilmington area is probably what we're strongest for.
Yep, greater Wilmington, North Carolina area, Leland, Winnebago, Bolivia, Oak Island, Wrightsville Beach area.
Yep.
Anywhere I would say within an hour and a half, 2 hour radius of downtown Wilmington, you could include in that bucket for us.
Yeah. Not to say that we wouldn't go outside of that, but it would just have to depend on, what that deal looked like, or, really if it made sense. It always has to be a win-win in our business. But I would say, like I said, kind of going back to that, realtor is always going to be number one.
Okay. What's number two?
Number two would probably be for sale by owner. So most people think, okay, hey, I need to sell this home. but I don't want to pay commissions. I totally get it. Nobody likes to pay commissions. I don't like to pay commissions. I do think they're worth it at times, but so then the most of the time they're going to say, okay, we're going to put a FSBO sign out, and we're going to try to put it on Facebook or Craigslist, and we're going to try to sell it on our own. Not a bad option, but the biggest thing is you really have to dot your I's and cross your T's. You're going to have to do your own purchase contract. You're going to have to make sure that it's done correctly through an attorney or a title company. So there's a lot of that it's a lot of red tape.
Right.
So that is an option as well. You got to make sure to know what you're doing. Um, and then kind of the third option really would be to sell to an investor, a cash buyer like ourselves. And that's where we really shine. So we have multiple options that we can offer
Right.
anyone who's looking to sell their home. And it's not just I have a property that's distressed and I need to sell it. There are very, very, very many scenarios that we have that we can help homeowners that most realtors or even just for sell by owner situations, just not going to make sense for them.
Right.
So I think that, the biggest, takeaway from what we do is we do pay cash, so we don't have to work with lenders. We don't have to worry about traditional inspections, appraisals. That's another whole thing with selling with a realtor. You have to make sure that the bank agrees to it.
Right. The bank has to say the collateral is worth this much for the loan. With us, it's just a straight, this is what I can pay you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we typically can give you something relatively on the spot. If not on the spot, typically that same day. When we come out and take a look, we can give you an actual cash offer, meaning typically in about 2 weeks, we can get you to close. You will have, a check in hand, a wire coming to you. So those are the things that separate us. Once again, we buy completely as is, so no repairs, no more maintenance. A realtor is going to come in, kind of that first scenario. Okay, I need you to paint. I need you to replace flooring,
Need you to redo
carpet.
the kitchen.
Yeah, we need to do
Yeah.
some new lighting, landscaping. Because their job is to sell it for the most, which makes sense. But if a homeowner is in a situation where they can't afford to do it, don't have the means to do it, don't have the time to do it, there's a lot of different scenarios. Not always just about money.
Right.
But if they don't, the goal for us is to transition to that, where we can say, okay, cool, we can take this off your hands without doing anything. We do take care of all the closing costs too, so that's going to save somebody on average, depending on the purchase price, because that really kind of goes into it. But I would say on average between $1,500 to $2,500
Right.
when they're selling a home. Closing costs definitely adds up.
Sure.
And then one of the biggest benefits is, we kind of say, take what you want and leave what you don't. You don't have to rent a dumpster. You don't have to clear it out. We work with a lot of homeowners who have inherited properties. A loved one's passed away, and they're going through, and they're like, man, hey, we have this, kind of corner that we've designated of what we want to take.
Right.
Everything else we don't know what to do with. So we work with a lot of companies that we try to do, for donations. We try to make sure that, as much of this good product left behind is put to good use in the community. So,
Right.
but I would say that in a nutshell is probably one of the single reasons why most people would want to go with us. It's just because we try to make it pretty smooth, and we try to take that stress off of most of the sellers.
Right. It's simple. You can just literally leave whatever you want to leave,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll take care of the rest. Here's your money. You don't have to worry about an appraisal or repair. And it's not always, like you said, it's not always a property that's super distressed. Sometimes it's just somebody who has
Yeah.
a bad tenant who just left them high and dry,
Mm-hmm.
and they can't float the new mortgage. They can't keep up with the maintenance because the tenant's out of there and it's just too much work, or they're just overwhelmed by the situation in general. And there we come in to help to give people a better option.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of better options, I'm going to have to take this. I'm pretty sure this is our next deal coming in.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate you making time today. If you guys need to sell your house a better way, feel free to contact us. Zach, what's the number real quick? Well, here it comes. Welcome to the Better House Buyers Podcast, hosted by me, Skylar Rader, and my co-host. There it is.
Thanks for listening. If you found this information helpful, or if you think you're someone who might need our service, the first step of the process is always to give us a call at 910-786-1818. Remember, it's a hassle-free process. We pay cash, we buy completely as is with no inspections. It's just a better way to sell your home.